Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining NYC Public Schools Pathways for College Instructors to Teach at NYCPS. Excuse me if I sound a little bit under the weather. I am Taisha Morin. I support teacher recruitment at NYC Public Schools. Tonight's webinar is going to be about how to teach at NYCPS through the Transitional G pathway for college instructors. Just as an FYI, before we begin, you can open QR codes on the screen using your phone camera for easy access to the links shared throughout the presentation. You'll see various QR codes and you can use your phone to hover over them to access the various links. So today's information session will be solely focused on how to become an NYCPS teacher through the Transitional G pathway. If you are a college instructor with a graduate degree or higher and at least 4 semesters of college instruction, this is the right place for you. Today's session was designed specifically for individuals with college instruction experience who are interested in teaching at NYCPS under the Transitional G certificate, as we said. Given your deep content, knowledge, and experience teaching in post-secondary classrooms, you have what it takes to support and inspire NYC's middle and high schoolers. We'll cover 4 topics in this presentation: an overview of NYCPS, the Transitional G certification process, the teacher application process, as well as the job search process. So let's get started by talking about NYC Public School System and the benefits of joining NYCPS. When you join New York City Public Schools, you join the largest, most dynamic district in the nation, with over 900,000 students who speak over 180 languages and a network of 77,000 fellow teachers. New York City educators have the unique privilege and responsibility to jumpstart the next generation of innovators, leaders, and citizens. New York City has 1,600 schools that are as diverse as our students and the distinctive neighborhoods we serve, from neighborhood schools with deep roots in their local community to small thematic schools in the performing arts. There are schools with focus in STEAM, humanities, and dual language schools. Whatever your interests or passion may be, there is a school for you. Within our schools, teachers build personal connections with their students, colleagues, and families to support relationship building and learning outcomes. We will talk later about how to navigate the job search process at NYCPS and how to find the best school for you. At NYCPS, we have a shared goal, which is to build bright starts and futures for our students. NYCPS graduates go on to pursue meaningful and rewarding careers, reflecting the bold futures priority of NYCPS. And as a college instructor, you have so much to offer New York City students, and you could be a part of championing this mission and goal. New York City Public School has a bold vision. Through a reimagined student experience that centers career-connected learning, all students will reach long-term economic security. This vision is one where academic excellence is integrated with real-world skills and experience, giving students a head start on college and career and helping them build a strong plan toward a rewarding career. This includes many unique experiential learning opportunities for students, as well as critical programs such as Future Ready, NYC, and Career and Technical Education, also known as CTE. Teaching at NYCPS allows you to leverage all the great programs and resources in your teaching and incorporate your academic expertise and deep content knowledge, while also allowing you to be a part of leading the way in a transformative education that prepares students for success both at NYCPS and in their future careers. Excuse me. Here at NYCPS, our teachers aim to inspire the next generation through supporting and challenging our students at a critical stage of their development and growth. Think back to your middle and high school experience. Who inspired you? What was exciting to you at that time? And as you reflect on the transformative impact of your middle and or high school teacher had on you, think about how can you inspire New York City's next set of thinkers, leaders, and innovators. Now that we reflected on the impact and overview of New York City Public Schools, I will now pass it over to my colleague Chevy Schick, who will discuss our salary and benefits.
Thank you, Taisha. So let's get started talking about some of the other benefits of teaching at New York City Public Schools. All New York City Public Schools teachers are paid a competitive salary and receive comprehensive benefits. New York City Public Schools teachers are paid according to a salary schedule that is part of the teacher contract negotiated by UFT. The QR code on the right will take you to the current salary schedule, which we'll look at more closely on the next slide. Teachers' starting salaries vary based on education and prior experience. The starting salary for new teachers who have a master's degree and no teaching experience in September of 2025 is $77,455. Let's take a closer look at that salary schedule that I just mentioned and how it is structured. Again, we're using the September 2025 salary schedule in this example. As you can see on the left-hand side in blue, the schedule is organized into steps, and then in the horizontal row in green, you can see the differentials. The steps, again on the left-hand side, represent years of service and experience. If you're a first-year teacher, 1A is your first year of work and transitions to 1B in March. So if you started in September 2025, you'd move to step 1B in March 2026, and then to step 2A in September of 2026. Teaching without interruption typically allows you to move 2 steps in a year. Once you begin teaching at New York City Public Schools, you can apply for salary steps to receive credit for prior teaching experience, including college teaching experience. You will be awarded salary step placement at a rate of 1 semester of service for 1 year of full-time college teaching if the experience is deemed eligible. It's important to note that adjunct and part-time college teaching experience is not accepted for salary steps. The green bar again represents differentials, which are awarded based on educational achievements and additional qualifications. The first, BAC1, is bachelor's degree, and it continues from left to right as you accrue additional credits. Similar to the salary steps, once you begin teaching at New York City Public Schools, you can apply for salary differentials to receive credit for your education achievements. Since you must have at least a master's degree in order to qualify for the Transitional G pathway, you may qualify for the C2 plus PD differential, which requires a master's degree. In addition to salary steps and salary differentials, there are also longevity bonuses, retention bonuses, and opportunities such as after school and summer school per session for New York City Public School teachers to earn additional compensation. It's important to note that all new teachers will begin at step 1A, where the September 2025 starting salary is $68,902. Once you begin teaching and apply for salary steps and salary differentials, if awarded, then you will receive payment retroactively. You can find additional resources regarding salaries on the UFT and NYCPS web pages. You can scan these QR codes. The UFT QR code on the left has a salary calculator to help you estimate what salary you might qualify for. And the NYCPS resources on the right contain a lot of articles explaining each step of the process. We are not able to predict for you in advance exactly what your salary will be, but you can use these resources to get a good sense of what you might qualify for. In addition to a competitive salary, all New York City Public Schools teachers also receive robust benefits, including a comprehensive health insurance plan that includes dental, vision, and prescription drugs, membership with the United Federation of Teachers, enrollment in a pension plan, and discounts and financial incentives. There are also exciting loan forgiveness programs you could be eligible for as a New York City Public Schools teacher. This includes the New York State Teacher Loan Forgiveness Program, which is available for teachers serving hard-to-staff districts or who teach a subject shortage area in New York State. You must be a New York State resident for at least 12 months to be eligible. The QR code on the left will take you to more information. New York City Public Schools employees may also be eligible for the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. That's the QR code on the right. This program forgives the remaining balance of your direct loans after you've made the equivalent of 120 qualifying monthly payments under an accepted repayment plan and while working full-time for an eligible employer. New teachers at New York City Public Schools hit the ground running with professional resources and learning opportunities tailored just for them, in addition to the many career development opportunities available to all teachers. Every year, we survey new teachers and use that feedback to improve our offerings. This past year, 95% of new teachers listed professional learning as a top priority, so you'd be joining a cohort that deeply values professional growth. You can see here some of the available supports for new teachers, including school-based mentorship and a new teacher toolkit, as well as ongoing resources made available to all New York City Public Schools teachers. In addition to all of these great teacher resources, New York City Public Schools believes strongly in the impact teachers can have in teacher leadership roles. These are opportunities to cultivate leadership and empower educators in the classroom, and teacher leaders are also compensated with a stipend for serving in these roles. These teacher leadership roles include model teachers and peer collaborative teachers, as well as master teachers. You can see some of the responsibilities that teacher leadership roles including leading laboratory classrooms, facilitating professional collaborations, coaching peers and colleagues, and advocating in leadership roles. You do have to be teaching at New York City Public Schools for at least 1 year in order to apply for any of these opportunities, but we did want to share them with you now, as we know that you may be thinking about your long-term career pathways at New York City Public Schools. So let's transition now into talking about the requirements for teaching with a Transitional G certificate. All New York City Public Schools teachers must meet 2 requirements. They must hold valid teaching certification from the New York State Education Department, and they must hold United States work authorization. We're going to talk in a minute about the certification piece. That's the Transitional G pathway that you'd be pursuing. But just to address briefly the work authorization piece, you must hold U.S. citizenship, residency, or a work visa in order to teach at New York City Public Schools. Now let's talk about the Transitional G certificate. This is the New York State Education Department's definition. It's a temporary certificate that enables those with at least 2 years of post-secondary teaching experience to teach their subject area in a New York City Public Schools classroom. If after 2 years of teaching under their certificate, you're interested in pursuing an initial certificate, which is a more permanent license, there's pretty minimal requirements, so we'll talk about that shortly. There are 5 key steps to follow to obtain your Transitional G certificate. We're going to talk about those steps now, and then I'll pass it back over to Taisha to talk about the New York City Public Schools application process. But first becomes eligibility. You want to make sure that you are eligible for this pathway. And there are 3 key eligibility requirements for the Transitional G certificate. The first is that you hold at least a bachelor's degree in the subject area that you want to teach. The second is that you hold a graduate degree. And the third is that you have 4 semesters of paid post-secondary teaching experience in that certification area. Adjunct teaching experience does count toward the post-secondary teaching experience. We're going to talk later about, again, that application process, but first we're going to talk about the Transitional G eligibility and how you know if you meet these qualifications. In particular, you might be wondering about the subject area and whether or not your background and your experience match the subject areas that the city and the state are looking for. To determine whether you meet the requirements for the Transitional G certificate in your desired subject area, we recommend that you use the New York State Education Department Search Certification Requirements tool. The QR code is here on the slide, and you can see what it looks like as well. This is a key web page to help you determine the specific eligibility requirements for the subject area that you're interested in. Here's how you're going to find out about the specific eligibility requirements. You're going to first select area of interest and choose classroom teacher. Then you're going to choose your desired subject area, whether it's biology, math, English, something else. You're going to choose your grade level. You're going to choose the applicable title. And then when it comes to choosing the type of certificate, you're going to choose Transitional G. It's important to note that if you're interested in pursuing world languages certification, instead of selecting classroom teacher as the area of interest, you're going to need to select classroom teacher foreign languages as the area of interest. And once you do that, you'll see the languages listed in the subject area dropdown. Here's an example of what it looks like with that filled out for English. So you'll see classroom teacher, English, the grade levels, adolescent 7 to 12, and then the title then becomes English Language Arts 7 to 12, and then the Transitional G certificate. If you were to press submit over here, then this is what that would look like. Here would be the pathway requirements. Specifically, it's listed here under individual evaluation. These are the pathway requirements for that Transitional G pathway that you just searched. You're going to see specifically the bachelor's degree or higher in the subject, the additional education in the graduate degree, and then the paid post-secondary teaching experience, at least 2 years. If you were to click on where it says bachelor's degree or higher in subject, and again, this is for English, but it will look the same for every subject, there will be a description that pops up that will provide more information from the state about what they consider to qualify. So in this case, if you were to click on the bachelor's degree or higher in English, it would say, for example, courses in composition, English literature, poetry, playwriting, grammar, and English linguistics are acceptable. So this is where you're going to find the state map or the state match between your experience and your background, your education, and the subject areas for New York State teaching certification. In addition to those requirements that we just talked about, no matter which pathway a candidate takes, they must also complete 3 workshops: the Child Abuse Identification Workshop, School Violence Intervention and Prevention, and DASA, the Dignity for All Students Act training. The QR code on the right will take you to some information about those workshops. It is required, again, for all New York City Public Schools teachers to complete these workshops. There is a 4th workshop that is only required for specific certification. You're going to need to set up an account now in Teach. Teach is the New York State Education Department's online teacher certification system. There is a fee for submitting your application at Teach. It's a $100 application fee to the state. You're going to need to create your account and submit that fee as you start your teaching certification for the New York State Education Department. Note that one of the requirements is going to need to be that you submit your official transcripts to the state. And again, because that is the requirement that you have that bachelor's background and that master's degree, the state is going to ask you to submit transcripts as part of your application. You're also going to need to submit proof of your paid post-secondary teaching experience to NYCED. Specifically, you have to have a letter from your department chairperson where you completed that post-secondary experience to send an official letter on college letterhead directly to the state's Office of Teaching Initiatives, verifying the details of your post-secondary teaching experience. The letter must include your full name and either your birth date or the last 4 digits of your social security number. It must include your title or position at the institution of higher education when you completed your post-secondary teaching experience, a list of courses that you taught, course name, course number, and the semester in which each course were taught, and a statement verifying that your job performance was satisfactory. This can be scanned as a PDF, emailed to tcert@nyced.gov, or it can be mailed in. You cannot send this letter yourself. It must come from the department chairperson. However, we recommend that you ask them to copy you on the email. This way, you'll have the letter to submit in your New York City application, which we'll talk about shortly. And then you'll also know for sure once they have done it. So again, the letter must be sent directly to the state from the department chairperson where you completed your post-secondary teaching. If you taught at more than one college, you will have to ask the chairperson for the department at each of those colleges to submit their own letter, again, copying you so that you'll have both of those letters. You don't need to prove more than 4 semesters of teaching, more than 2 years of this post-secondary teaching. And so if you completed 2 years or more in one college and then a few additional years in another college, you can only submit the one letter showing you have at least those 2 years of teaching. You don't have to submit multiple letters in that case. And then this last piece involves securing clearance and a teaching position. You're going to have to get fingerprinted. That, again, is a requirement for all New York City Public Schools teachers. So that is something that is a requirement for everybody, and you'll have to upload that to the state as well. In addition, though, you're going to have to find a teaching position. One of the requirements for the New York State Education Department's certification application is that you have, in this case, for Transitional G certification, you have to have a district or superintendent recommendation, meaning a specific superintendent or the school district has to recommend you for the certification because they plan to hire you. That means that you have to find a job before you officially submit your full state application. Therefore, we at New York City Public Schools have resources available to help you find a job. And that's why you're going to need to do both of these applications at the same time, the New York State application and the New York City application. And so in just a minute, Taisha will talk through the New York City application. Once you fill out that application, we have a lot of resources to help you find a job. At the same time, you'll start your state teach application. You'll upload your workshops, your fingerprinting, you'll submit your transcripts. You'll have the department chairperson submit their letter with proof of your post-secondary teaching experience. And then once you find a job at New York City Public Schools, then the HR director will submit that district recommendation so that then you will officially get the Transitional G certification from the state. And lastly, as I mentioned, the Transitional G certification is valid for 2 years, after which you will need to obtain initial certification. The only requirement after you've taught under the Transitional G certification for getting that initial certification is to complete the Educating All Students exam, the EAS exam. And so within those 2 years, while teaching under the Transitional G cert, you'll need to complete the EAS exam in order to qualify for initial certification at the end of those 2 years. Those are all the requirements for obtaining Transitional G certification. Now I'm going to pass it back to Taisha to talk more about the process for completing the New York City teacher application so that you can find a position.
Thank you, Sevi. Thank you, everyone. So now we're going to go into the requirements of the NYCPS application process. In order to work at NYC Public Schools, you must submit an application to teachnyc.net. You can access that via the QR code. Fulfill all certification requirements and receive your certification. This process is done through NYCED, as Chevy mentioned. And then last but not least, finding your teaching position by conducting job outreach and interviewing at schools, which we will go through that process as well later in the presentation. So everyone who is interested in teaching for the upcoming school year must complete the NYCPS teacher application at teachnyc.net. As I said, the application is now open. Please be advised, you're going to be moving through the TransG certification process and the NYCPS application process simultaneously. You need to qualify for certification to obtain employment with NYCPS, but you also need to secure employment at NYCPS to officially obtain TransG certification. So you will need to complete the NYCED Teach application as well as the NYCPS application simultaneously. And please keep in mind, these are two separate entities. NYCPS oversees the NYCPS teacher application, and NYCED oversees teacher certification. So that's where you will apply to TransG certification. Before you start your application, check out the teacher application guide, which will walk you through the process. What you are looking at here is the screenshot of our website on teachnyc.net. You can find the guide by going to our homepage and clicking the teacher application guide image on the lower right side. The guide shares information on preparing your online application. This includes how to create your account, completing your common profile, tips, notes, and frequently asked questions, and also introduces you to our online support where you can reach out to us for further questions. So we strongly encourage you to thoroughly review this document before starting your application. If you are a new user to the NYC teacher application, you will need to select new user. If you've used the online teacher application in previous year, you can use your previous login information in order to gain access to the system. If for any reason you can't remember your previous login information or you're not sure if you have been in our system, please select not sure. There are two different parts to the application. The first is the NYCPS profile, where you will enter information about yourself, your work authorization status, your education history, and your work experience. The second section of the NYC teacher application consists of job search profile, where you will enter information about your job preferences and then we'll submit information about your certification pathway. We'll talk more about that in the coming slides. Keep in mind that your responses to these part of the application can affect your engagement with our office. For example, if you identify the Bronx as your borough of preference, you may be invited to online or in-person recruitment events to Bronx schools. So what you select also allows us to share information about anything regarding your preferences in regards to events we might have or recruitment opportunities. In the certification section, you'll be asked to input the following information. Here's what you should select for your specific circumstances. For certification status, you will select requirements completed, no certification issued by NYCED. Certification state, you'll select New York. Certification type, you will select transitional. And for the subject area, you'll select your desired subject area, as well as your in the grade level, your desired grade level. And then last but not least, in the educational pathway, you will select Transitional G certificate. When you get to the supporting documentation section, please upload a copy of the department chairperson letter demonstrating your post-secondary teaching experience as expressed earlier in the slide. Now we will talk about the application process. Here's what happens after you submit your application. All applicants will receive a confirmation email from the Office of Teacher Recruitment and Quality confirming a receipt of their application. All applications will be reviewed to determine certification eligibility. Only applications that meet the standards are entered into the new teacher finder, which is the database for candidates to connect with schools and access job postings and other resources. We'll talk more about the new teacher finder shortly in the job search process. And just to reiterate what we've discussed earlier in the slides, part of our review process for TransG, and a huge emphasis is on the department chair letter. So we strongly encourage you to seek out the department chair letters so that they could be sent on your behalf, and to submit a record with us as part of your NYCPS teacher application. So now that we've discussed the application process, the certification process, and an overview of NYCPS, we're going to take a look at the job search process, which is one of the exciting aspects. So as a preview to the job search process, here are some ways you can increase your chances of finding the right position. You can research schools online, conduct outreach to schools directly, use the new teacher finder and other job boards, network with colleagues and professors and friends, and attend NYCPS networking events. And we're going to cover these more further in the next slides. One way you can promote success in your job search is by considering districts, neighborhoods, and schools where your talents are most needed. If you are certified in a certain high demand subject area, this is especially true. If you are really determined to work here, you should also think strategically about where you are looking for a position. If you want to go where the jobs are, consider teaching positions in the Bronx and Brooklyn. This year, 58% of our new hires occur in schools in these two boroughs. It's important that you find a school that's the right fit for you, but don't exclude schools because they are slightly out of your comfort zone or in a different borough from where you live. Almost all of our schools are easily accessible by public transportation and have students who need great teachers in all 5 boroughs. As we mentioned earlier, if your NYCPS teacher application is successfully screened, you will gain access to the new teacher finder, also known as the NTF, which is NYCPS's job search tool. And here's a screenshot of what the NTF looks like. After selecting search all positions on the left panel, you can filter for position type, your preferred borough, grade level, and subject area. Principals enter their vacancies into the NTF, and while you can express interest via the NTF, you should also email principals directly. To learn more about specific schools, you can go to schools.nyc.gov and use the school search feature right on the homepage. You can search for schools by name, borough, or grade level to help narrow down your options. However, you will want to remember that this tool lists every school in our system, not just those that have openings. Once you've identified a school that interests you, you will need to contact them directly to inquire about position availability. And to learn more about individual schools, you can click individual school names it will take you to the page that contains a wealth of information about the school. So first you will click on the school website to go directly to their website. Click on the overview to see some data about their grade levels, enrollment, districts, and more. Click on school quality for direct links to school quality guides and reports for the school. And then you could click on reports for additional information about school programs, finances, and more. Now that we covered job search, we're going to talk about next steps. I know we covered a lot of information. You can always visit us at our online support for 24/7 support with the application and hiring process. The support center contains hundreds of articles about every stage of the application and hiring process, as well as a contact us button where you can submit your question to the TRQ help desk for a personalized response. And we strongly encourage you to utilize this resource, as there are so many resourceful articles here. And there are any additional questions you may have, a member of our team will gladly support you. Last but not least, please follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram to stay on top on what's happening within New York City Public Schools. We have a really active social media platforms where we regularly share updates on the application and recruitment events, as well as news about what's going on in our schools and relevant opportunities for teachers. So join the movement, and we look forward to receiving your applications and engaging with you through our online support.